Leonard John Lodermeier was born 2/15/23. Most of you know that. Born in Urbank, Minnesota, to Martin and Kristen Lodermeier. My father operated a creamery. We lived above the creamery. My brother's Alfonse, that's the oldest one, my oldest brother, was born in Urbank. I was born there. Eugene was born there. And Adrian and Norb were born in Urbank. One of the things I remember was that we made a trip to Alberta, Canada, as my dad's brothers and sisters moved there from Minnesota. So we made a trip up there. He purchased an Essex car. Who knows what an Essex is? Well,
Studebakers.
no, it was a car of its own. So that was a brand new car. We drove that up to, I didn't, but my dad did, up to Canada, and that was back in the 20s. Now, how in the devil we ever got up to Alberta, Canada, I don't know. I still remember him turning around because he was lost and there was dirt roads. How that car made it up there, I don't know. Anyhow, I have a picture of that car. I found it yesterday with a row of walleyes hanging on it that they fished up in the river up there. And I remember a little bit about that. Okay, from there we moved to Adrian, Minnesota as
Well, I have a
my
question.
father. Pardon?
Did you have to work in the creamery?
I was about 4 years
You were
old.
about 4 years old, so you did you help out at all in the creamery? Or
No, I
any of
think
the
we
kids?
got into trouble, but not work.
So how big was this creamery then? Just a farm style type creamery or what?
Well, Urbank is half as big as Belchester. Anyhow, it was a two-story, and we lived upstairs in the upstairs part of it, and the creamery was downstairs. And of course, those days they brought in cream cans. That's what they brought in. They called him a butter maker, is what he was.
Did all the farmers bring their own in?
Yes.
Or was there a route?
No, they usually brought them in with horses. Yeah.
So he essentially just made butter then?
Butter. Yeah.
Butter.
Yeah. It's about the only product that
That he had.
they could sell, in the grocery store.
And the farmers brought these cans of milk in every day
Yeah.
because they probably couldn't keep them cold at home.
No. So it was cream mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They had already separated the cream at home, maybe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a separator down in the historical building down there. If anybody knows what a cream separator is, how many know that? There, Roger does. The little kids. You know, Kristen, what cream separator? No. Anyhow, sometime we'll take you down to the creamery and show you a cream separator. And what that is they spun this gadget that had a whole layers of fins in there, and the milk run in there, and of course cream is heavier than the rest, so the speed of this gadget would throw the cream through the outside, and that run in one spout and skim out one in the other. Okay.
Didn't the farmers then, they would just feed the milk? That was just,
I think probably they hauled it back, maybe, I don't know. But there wouldn't be much left.
much left.
No, not like when they hauled. One of the things that I remember, my dad liked to fish, dark houses, and he did a lot of that. I remember that.
Did you have aunts and uncles there too?
No,
Or just-
not in Urban. No.
Just your family then?
Just us, yeah. Because he had worked in a creamery down around St. Martin, St. Cloud, and that where he got educated on making butter, which I don't think is too big a deal, but that's. Then we moved to Adrian, which is just little ways from Worthington. Everybody knows where Worthington, Minnesota is. We lived in that, this was 1928. Then Jerome was born here at Adrian. That's where I started in school. I was 5 years old. We lived near the creamery. Dad had to come home several times to discipline us, I remember that. I don't know what other reasons he come home, but anyhow. I remember going to school in first grade there. Also recall I was dumber than a doorknob, which didn't prove much there. We didn't know how to get into trouble though, I remember that. We weren't there very long, as I think that was the era when creameries were going out of style, and that was the Depression years, everybody knows, about when all the banks closed. That was the year, so things were going pretty tough. And my dad wasn't a very good business person either. He isn't here to hear that, but I think I'd tell him that right to his face. I knew that for a long time. At that point, we moved to St. Martin, Minnesota, and that's where the home farm was, where my mother was born in St. Martin. And we lived on the farm where my mother was born. So the twins were born. We had brothers Frank and Ralph that were born December 1930, and December, Ralph, same time. Frank died in January 1931. Ralph in January 21, 1931. So they lived about a month. I remember holding them. They're buried in St. Martin at the cemetery, right in St. Martin there. Dad was on the road selling Raleigh products. There's like the Watkins, I think you've heard of that, haven't you? And like spices, medicines, and salves, and about the same thing as Watkins.
Was he home every night then, or did he be gone for the week?
That was the trouble. There may have been some brandy mixed in some of them products there too.
For medicinal
Yeah,
reasons.
that's when I realized he had a drinking problem. So that wasn't very good news, because I remember he'd come home with the car smashed up and whatnot. You guys wouldn't have had a show on that there, Ben, and you guys. When we had our brothers and sisters get together, you know, we had that in January up here. We always have a brandy drink to Martin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cute.
My sister Clarice and Loraine and the brothers, we all have a drink on that one.
So when you went back to the farm there, then, did you have aunts and uncles around you at that time?
Yes, I had my godfather was John Hageman, and he lived not too far from there, and he helped our family quite a lot, and it took me many years before I appreciated what he did for us, you know, because we were like poor in the church mouse, you know.
So did you just live there? He didn't farm anything then when he did the Raleigh route?
That uncle?
No, I mean when.
No, we just lived there.
Right.
Although I think we had a cow for milk, because
probably.
I remember separating milk on there. But somebody else run the farm. We just lived on the place there. I think it was my uncle that run the farm.
How they were sick?
When your
When
twin
they
brothers
died.
died, did they die from pneumonia? or-
Yeah, pneumonia, yes. Yeah, I should have had, maybe I had it in here, but yes, they died, both of them did.
But that was more common back then.
Yeah, there was no they didn't know what to do with them, at the time. So, wouldn't be a big deal today probably, but then it was, yeah. Then we moved to Braham, Minnesota. That's a small community by the name of Coin. It's on the map. Sometime I guess I was talking to Braham down at the Royals, and one of these days we're going to drive over there, see if we can locate that little spot in the road. Anyhow, Loraine was born there, 1932. The place we lived on had a large growth of white pine trees. I remember that. It was just the most beautiful set of trees, and they were about this big and tall. I think I was about 8 years old. And that was part of the Depression. We went to a country school there. The big news with the food was, at that time, was that they were going to have white flour, pure white flour. Before that, it was always kind of a gray with the wheat mixed in there. They didn't know the nutrition value of it then, but that was a big deal, having pure white flour. And that's when that come about. We kept most of our food that would spoil down in a cistern with a rope. I don't know if you guys ever did that.
No.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah, it was probably 15, 20 feet deep. It was cool down there. Keep it. We also made a lot of maple syrup at the time in that area. We had fun collecting the sap, so I know all about how to collect that. I can't stand the stuff now anymore. The most excitement, if I remember right, we had a herd of Holstein cattle come on our place with a bull. And Dad was on the road, on the deal. And this bull got so brave, he got his foot up on the porch. And he was just uglier than all get out. And I wanted to take my dad's shotgun, I was 8 years old, and shoot the sucker. And about that time, my mother stopped me. She had a better idea of what not to do there. I think I'd busted him right in the head about that time. Anyhow, finally the owners came along, and he could handle that bull pretty good. He had a big long fence post, and he kept throwing it up in the air onto the bull's back, and that bull got real tame. He got the herd home that way. That was one of the excitements. And Loraine, how many have seen her elbow? Sometimes don't make a big issue out of it, but on her elbow, she's got a scar right on her arm like that. I think
I've seen it.
you've seen
I've
it.
seen
Yeah.
And that come about from, she became sick and nobody could figure out, including the doctors, what was the matter. And finally my mother found out that when she moved her arm, she would cry. So they figured it out, it was in her arm. So that's what happened. They operated, and she had a cyst on it, I guess, or something that was infected. But the doctor, he sure figured out how to make a long cut on there. Didn't know how to sew it up, I guess, either.
So was your dad still doing the traveling salesman
Yes,
at
he
that
was.
time?
Yeah.
For the same company then?
Yeah, I
The
think
Raleigh
he
company?
stayed with the Raleighs there, yeah.
Now, did your dad, did they speak German?
Oh, yeah. When we were at the, I should back up to when we lived on the home farm by St. Martin there. We didn't know how to speak English, so the school was German then.
It was, okay.
Yeah. So when we went to school there, in the grade school, so it's German. By the way, when I knew how to speak German, and when I came out of the service, I could not speak it anymore. I lost it.
Really?
Yeah, I could not figure out. Yeah, I mean, just that time. So I can understand it, but not, you know. Biggest entertainment we had at this coin there at that school was running tires down the road on a dusty road, see how much dust we could turn up. Can't remember doing that. That was fun. And we all had slingshots. The birds were at bay all the time. That didn't make any difference whether they were roberts, woodpeckers, or whatever. They were a game. It was a big hunt when we shot one of them down. We didn't know they were protected though.
They weren't then.
I don't think, not
No.
those.
No, that ones weren't.
No. Then we moved again near Braham. That was closer to Braham from where we're at Coin. I think we didn't live there very long. We went to a country school, and the kids really picked on us because I think probably that's pretty normal when kids do that when you move in. Anyhow, my brother Eugene and I got sick of this, getting picked on, so one day we went, beat the kids home from school because most of them walked by our house on the road, and we went to the woodshed and got a couple clubs, and we're going to entertain those guys. We were mad, I'll tell you. We got just by the house, and who do you know stopped us? My mother. Another good decision she made. She made a good decision there. Because I don't know what would have happened because our tempers were up. So that was another good move on my mother's part. At that point, we didn't live there very long. So we moved again near Braham, but it was closer to Braham. Then we went to a city school there. And by the way, Victor was born in Mora, Minnesota in 1934. And Clarice was born in October 35. And at this place that we moved to, there was no insulation in those houses, especially when you rented them like we did. And it was cold, then we were cold days. And we slept upstairs, and bathroom equipment froze over. So we had outdoor toilets, but we had bathroom equipment up there.
Kind of sounds like whenever the rent was due, you had to move. And
I think that was it.
Yeah.
We never got in on the bookwork, but I don't think there was any. God, it just was move. I don't know. I remember this, that my mother had barrels that she stacked stuff in. Some of them never got unpacked. It was pretty easy to move after a while. So.
I mean,
it seemed like we didn't know the difference at that time.
Seems like you're on, I don't know how old you are at this point, but then you move quite often.
Yeah.
Did every family move that much, or just yours?
I think ours had the blue ribbon for that one. I think we won first prize. Yeah. At that place we fished in the Snake River. You guys ever hear of the Snake River up in that area? It's a pretty good sized river. Anyhow, we went fishing there quite regular, and one day we caught 3 big sheephead. We didn't know what kind of fish they were, but as on the way home we were walking. This car stopped and asked us if we wanted to sell them. And of course, that was a big prize for us to have these big sheephead. And he asked if they were bass, and they said, we don't know. We should have sold them. But we were so proud of the suckers that we kept them, you know. So we went fishing there quite regular.